Okay, here we go. This is Tara, and today we are here with Alicia, who is the owner of Real Intimacy and Sexual Empowerment, Rise. I love that. I love everything about that. And she is going to talk to us about what she does and share some information about relational intimacy when you're dealing with a pandemic and people are stuck at home after a couple of weeks, some people don't really like each other, much less want to be in the same space. So intimacy, not so much. And then you got those people who are in a relationship, but they're not stuck together. They're stuck in their individual homes. And so there's kind of a gap in there for all of us. Sometimes when we're thinking about toilet paper and hand sanitizer and, a loaf of bread, intimacy just completely goes out the window. And I feel like personally that intimacy is a part of normalcy, and recapturing that is critical to a lot of people, you know, making it through this with a semblance of sanity. So I'm going to turn it over to Alicia. I'm going to mute myself unless a question comes through, and then that way you can tell us who you are, what you do, and all that fun stuff.
Great. Thank you, Tara. So my name's Alisha S, and I'm the owner of Rise, Real Intimacy and Sexual Empowerment. It's based here in Topeka, Kansas. A little bit of background about me. I'm a body-based therapist, so I used to be a massage therapist. So when we're talking about intimacy, that's going to come up. I'm just giving you forewarning. Additionally, in my current private practice, I work with individuals who have trauma histories, and specifically issues related to sex, sexuality, relationships. And so that's going to be the topic of my conversation today. Since the start of COVID and the shelter in place orders, it's been on my mind to kind of want to have this talk. So I thank you, Tara, for allowing me to do that, to have this talk about how we can continue to connect with each other, with our partners, with our friends. But specifically, I'm going to talk about partners today. And what I find is that this isolation can impact individuals deeply, those with mental health issues and those without. But as Tara was talking about, I think earlier, we're starting to drive each other crazy is the reality. So I want to talk about how to have a healthy balance of being connected to your partner, while you are, stuck in this current situation. And what comes to mind for me first and foremost is actually, what it's like to be intimate. And intimacy is the connection between two people based on emotions, not physical. Sex, intimacy, or intercourse and intimacy, totally separate things. So if we need to talk further about that, we can do that at another time. But I'm going to talk about intimacy and emotional connection here, because for me, and these thoughts that I'm going to share with y'all today are my own, based on my experience and based on my training. And so to talk about intimacy and to talk about how that relates to connection and sex is, first we have to like each other. We have to be connected. We have to be open and sharing our emotions with our partner and being willing to be with them in a way that maybe for some of us who've been together for a very long time, or some of us who are brand new, we don't know about or we've forgotten. So being in the headspace of being intimate and sexual is very, very important, I think, in relationships. And so I'm going to guess somebody's going to ask, how do we do that? Think back to when you first started dating, or maybe you're single right now and you're starting to date. What attracts you to people? Conversation, getting to know somebody at a deeper level. So it can start with flirtation. That can be the starting steps to intimacy. But as we grow and we get closer, vulnerability is another piece. So I know that might be a curveball for some of y'all, but I'm gonna throw that in there, because the ability to be intimate requires vulnerability, knowing that you can go to your person or your people, because I'm open to all forms of relationships, and I think that going to them in times like this and sharing, maybe it's good stuff, maybe it's difficult parts of what's going on in your life, and knowing that they can hold you safely and be there for you, that's the intimacy I'm talking about. And it all starts with communication. I'm looking at Tara, and I'm wondering if there are questions already. Okay, keep going. Okay, so step one, be open mentally and emotionally with your partner. How do we do that? Talk to them, ask questions. I think about, for those of us that aren't together with our partners at this time based on COVID, I get really excited, as you guys can tell, when I'm talking about connecting with our partners. So Zoom, I know everybody's tired of it right now, but what a better place to communicate with your partner than FaceTime or Zoom. Sharing what's going on in your daily lives is a start. But as we look at getting closer and more sexual, there's a whole bunch of little tips that I'll probably throw in a little bit later about how to do that. Does that make sense? Okay. Should keep going? Okay. So where to go next? Let's talk about this. Let me think about this. COVID. So for me, as a body-based person, a body-based therapist, touch is equally as important to mental stimulation. So in knowing that we need both, one, let's talk about bids for attention, how to just reach out to your partner. And I don't mean, hey, grill them or interrogate them on how their day is. I mean, make simple connection, maybe a comment about, how they look, or comment about something that they did for you that meant something to you. I think sometimes we have to get outside of the, oh, hey, you look beautiful today conversation, and get more into, who are you? What are you interested in? How are you making it through this time? Talk to your partner about that, because seriously, I think right now, all of us are shutting down. Our bodies are shutting down. We're in survival mode, and opening up and having deeper communication is not going to be at the forefront of our mind. So when we're talking about survive, we're talking about eating, breathing, sleeping, but also if you're sleeping next to your partner, make sure that you are next to them, opening up to them, talking to them, touching them. All of these things are equally important in relationships. So touch for couples who are together during this pandemic. This is where I would ask you guys questions. What are you doing? Are you doing it? Are you holding hands? Are you sharing, showing loving touches to each other? It's more about, PV intercourse, let's be honest. So I'm sorry, I'm looking at Tara. She's like, yeah. So whoever else is out there, yes, I see you. And I hope that you hear that too. Intimacy is about penis and vagina sex. Let's be clear.
So one of the things that I know a lot of people were talking to me about before today is that there is so much other stuff going on. They feel selfish wanting intimacy with their partner. So can you address that? A lot of people think that, oh, I shouldn't even be wanting sex right now. There are people dying and all of that, and we're in a pandemic kind of thing. So how would you respond to that?
Yeah. What I would say is touch is essential to being human. If we're just, let's take this and talk about babies. If babies aren't touched, research shows that there's a higher likelihood that they won't survive, or they'll have increased physical and mental problems, illnesses, things like that. So if we didn't apply it to intercourse and we just talked about touch in general, I would come back to that. I don't think that it's selfish to want to be touched. I don't think it's selfish to want to be near each other. As humans, this is what we do. Hence why, I had a wonderful and enjoyable time being a massage therapist for many, many years. People like to be touched, and there's nothing wrong with that as long as it's consensual. Let's add that. So I want to be sure that, people understand that, while Tara, you probably have already talked about this, but, during this pandemic, our bodies are experiencing, I don't want to use this word lightly, but trauma. And so I think it's important to remember that while our body is going into survival mode, there is still also a need to have those experiences that we used to have, which include touch, or continue to have, should continue to have, I guess, if we are able to. And I think that that's important. I don't think anybody would ever sit here and say, I shouldn't touch my child during this time. I shouldn't give them hugs and love. Because, and I know that it's a scary thing. Let me back up and say, I know that this is a scary thing because we're supposed to have the whole 6 feet apart, be safe during this pandemic, but also if under the right circumstances, you have the opportunity to do that and be that for your partner. It doesn't have to necessarily be intercourse. It could be lying next to each other. It could be simply rubbing each other's back or holding hands. Something that seems so small can mean so much to the body. That can also help heal and grow our relationships. I hope I didn't ramble on.
No. So we have a question, and this is along the lines of something that I've experienced with a client because I work with kiddos, and mom and dad were in the midst of having sex, and the child walked in, and so that created a whole different dynamic in the house that we're still processing 2 weeks later. Is
Right.
there a way to carve out some private time and space for intimacy when everybody's in the house?
Yeah. Excellent question. Excellent question. Absolutely. My own family and I were talking about this as well. Having children at home. And so I would say a couple of things. Going back to intimacy is not just intercourse. So
Mhm,
again, loving touches throughout the day,
mhm,
being intimate with your mind, sharing conversation, maybe sharing, flirtatious jokes with your partner. Those are all part of intimacy. So I want to make sure I cover that. But physically carving out space. Let's talk about this. So one, I think it is important for every individual, including children, to have space within the home and time within the home that is honored and that is theirs. They should be able to ask for it. They should be able to receive it, adults included. So my partner and I were having the conversation about how best to go about this. And really, I think it's important to remember, first off, you can have lots of time together, or you can make short, very intentional, very loving time together, separate from your children.
mhm.
And so that if that is 5 minutes together in the shower, fantastic. If that is cuddling together after the kids go to bed at night, great. If that's having sex during the day, happens, people, don't forget that. And in the afternoon and evening, go any way that you can do that. Now, when you have really littles, I think it's important to, again, talk to them about boundaries and time. And so set them up with a fun activity in the home, and then you and whoever you're with can go have your separate activity time, is all, like, I'll call it for this moment. But I don't think that it is selfish. And I think it's a tricky thing to do, if I'm going to be honest, while we're all stuck in the house. But I think it's imperative. So, you know, I hear all sorts of jokes about how parents will, hide out in their bathroom to have 5 minutes of quiet time. So why not invite your partner to do that with you? Why not?
Good
Uh,
idea.
First off, intercourse can happen in many different places, and it can happen in many different ways. So I think that maybe if you kind of just take a different lens and look at it, you can find lots of different ways to have fun.
I feel like this is an opportunity for people to be creative about it, um, and to not just do the same old thing because you
Yeah.
can't do the same old thing. So find a different place in your house, find a different time in your house. You
Yeah.
know, the sky's the limit when it comes to your house, as you said, you create that space that's protected and that's honored by everybody in the house. I think that's
Right.
good. Thank you.
I think additionally, I want to add in that your statement about creativity, we'll just throw that in right here because I was going to save that for later. But again, going back to the idea of being mentally present for intimacy and physically present, I always I always like to tell people, sex doesn't start right when you enter the bedroom. Sex starts after you had the last orgasm. So creating that intimacy, that togetherness of cuddling or talking, or, in the movie, smoking the cigarette or whatever. I'm not promoting smoking, by the way. I'm just saying they do it. You know, doing those types of things after sex occurs all the time in the movies, but let's not forget that it can occur in our home as well. So take those couple of moments to talk to your partner, after orgasm or the next morning. Send them a sweet text, send them a naughty text. I mean, really, doesn't matter. It's you and your partner. So, let's say you're going to plan to have sex at 7 o'clock on a Friday night. I would say, on, what's today, Monday, right now, you should probably start messaging them or sending them little love notes or letters, or talking about, hey, this is really exciting to me, because that primes the body for a closer, deeper, more connected, intimate, and intercourse for later.
So that's something I probably never considered. It's something that I do. It's the touches and all of that. So even if you only get 5 minutes of actual intercourse, you've been building up to that. So the intensity is up every single time you do something, the text message, the touches, the jokes, the words, all of that. I never
Yeah.
considered that.
Yeah, no, and actually I think this whole situation has brought that to the surface of you can do all of these things in the time that you're not together. And I think we forget that when we spend all of our time physically together.
Yeah.
But it really does. It doesn't even matter if you live with your person or not. Sending them messages, nodding pictures, leaving them, little clues around the house or whatever. All of those things can happen all the time. And this is how we maintain longstanding intimacy and attraction to each other.
So what do you recommend for those individuals that are not in the same house? They're
Right.
maintaining a relationship and they're practicing the physical distancing.
Yeah. So same rules apply. Those bids for attention and connection, continue to make them. Additionally, what are some creative ways? And are we talking about sex here? I'm just being
We're
clear.
talking about everything. We're talking about everything. Sky's the limit.
Okay, cool. So yes, same things apply with intimacy, having the deep conversations, taking time to shower them with messages or love notes or whatever the thing is that you so choose. To me, the way to my heart is through my tummy. Everybody knows this. So, cook
Yes.
your partner, drop it off at their door, whatevs, it's up to you. But when I'm talking about intercourse, I get really excited because I think there are so many ways that we can do that. And unfortunately, due to the situation, we're all having to figure these out. But I want to remind you that these will still apply when all this is over. So again, sexting, FaceTiming, having intercourse at the same time with yourselves, intimate. That's intimate. You're sharing what's happening for you in the moment. Erotic storytelling. These things continue to build our desire that we continue to have for each other. So we should continue that. Additionally, and I'm not going to talk brands here, but there are some mighty fantastic toys out there that don't have to use, but you can choose to use, that are Wi-Fi based, and your partner can control what settings they're on. They're super fun. I think they're just fun ways in this time to really connect with your partner. You can give directives to each other. You can shoot videos, whatever. It's totally up to you. Obviously, be careful with, hacking and stuff, but have fun, really. Like you said, Tara, the sky's the limit.
Absolutely. That's great. So for you, with your practice, do you find that with Rise, do you find that people are seeking you out right now to get this information? I mean, I know that a lot of people feel it's a taboo subject, and I'm hoping and praying that Rise changes that narrative, simply because physical intimacy is a beautiful thing and you have to learn it somehow. So I'm hoping that people are taking advantage of the fact
Right.
that you have this business.
So let me back up and state that I literally launched this business with all the excitement that I continue to have about it right before this happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I will say is stay tuned, because once we can all be in close contact with each other, Rise will be hosting some smaller workshops around Topeka, Kansas City, and across the country, really. Short, brief workshops for women, for people of color, for non-binary folk. They will be specific, and they will be listed on my website when we can have that happen. Additionally, there will be retreats hosted across the country, additionally outside of the country, and they are weekend retreats for couples. And I will leave them specifically for couples. Again, I don't care the formation. Personally, I think everybody should be able to love in the way that they want to love. And so I want to put that out there. But I will say that those will be held weekend retreats, and they will be focused on, basically how I like to describe it is intensive couples therapy over a weekend. So you can get a whole bunch of work done in a short amount of time, but with a whole lot of fun. There will be many, many different activities and experiences and self-care work and self-reflection time that will come within those. So once all this is over, that will be happening. However, At this time, people can reach me through my private practice, which is actually at New Beginnings Healthcare in Topeka. My current caseload is pretty full, but I continue to see clients individually or couples who wish to work on issues related to intimacy again, specifically working with those who have trauma histories or those who are just wanting to explore their own sexuality. I'm definitely open for all of that. And you can reach me there. And that website is newbeginningshealthcare.com in Topeka. But also, my personal website for Rise is Rise with Alisha, ALISHA.com. You can find my information there. You can find info about my private practice there. And so feel free to reach out to me anytime, really.
So are you going to have all of that information up on your website once this is all over? I know you've got them already set, but dates and all of that information once this is lifted.
Right. Yeah, some things have to be tweaked, but you can always check back. And what I'll do is I'll constantly update that website, or you can reach me on Instagram or on Facebook with Rise with Alisha, or Real Intimacy and Sexual Empowerment on Instagram. You can reach me at either of those places to find information about what I've got going on. Again, the in-person portions will have to be on hold, but who knows, I might get creative after today and figure out how to do some online stuff. We'll see.
That was my next question. Are you interested in doing teletherapy with couples and individuals that would like to? Good.
I absolutely am down for that. Teletherapy is always a thing. I'm welcome and open to doing workshops or discussions or Zoom meetings like this. As Tara, you know, and other people may not, I was a little bit gun shy. So now that I've jumped right in and we've done this, I feel a little bit better. So thank you, Tara.
So I am going to ask a question that I know a lot of people are probably afraid to ask. I was raised in a very church-focused family where the topic of intimacy and sexuality was taboo. And education came on a Friday night listening to the adults talk after they had several adult beverages, and then we would hear stories and things like that. And so it wasn't a full beneficial education. And I find myself amazed at the little that I got. There are individuals that got even less. So my question to you is, would you tailor a program to educate the religious community about intimacy and sexuality that could, a lot of people don't realize that Song of Solomon is about intimacy. And so it's really, really hard for them to grasp some of the things that you just said. I get it, but my experience and my understanding is that there are a lot of individuals who are not seeking this information intentionally, but they desire to have it.
Yes, and for me, one of the most exciting parts of doing this work is working with people with experiences that I have not had. And so what I will say is, one, the answer to your question is absolutely. Two, I want to let people know that my background, my education is not rooted in religion. However, I think that there is a way with anyone that I work with to speak in a loving and informational way that is not disrespectful. And that is generally my approach. And so absolutely I'm open for it. And two, I think that in order to tailor a workshop around that, I think I will need to do additional research, but also absolutely am down to have those conversations. And when working with people, what I find is not only is there maybe a lack of education for some people, and I'm not talking about those who come from a religious background, but I mean in general these days,
Absolutely.
There's a lot of education about sexuality and intimacy. And I think it starts at a young age.
Yes.
And so while you're talking, what was coming up for me was that when I mentioned earlier, having the types of conversations that I have with my children, they are both appropriate and informative. And I think taking an approach to working with the children that I work with, when it comes to issues of sexuality is, giving information in a non-shame-based way. And I think that for me, that's been the most helpful. Additionally, I will throw out there, and I'm not promoting this group in any way, but there's lots of good information at Sex Positive Families. If you want to Google them, there are books, there's information for young ones. But then also for those of us that are in adulthood and still have lots of questions, and again, for such a taboo topic, come on in. I love to work with you.
Yes.
And I say that I am currently under supervision for sex therapist certification. So like, this is my jam. So I want to mention that, that's why I enjoy these kinds of conversations.
So when do you anticipate being finished with your supervision and all of that for your certification?
That's a good question, Tara, because that can last a long time. I'm hoping by the end of 2020. I don't like to, I like to just, I guess, go at my pace. But additionally, certification isn't what makes a good therapist. It's the educational piece, but I'm doing my thing regardless.
Absolutely. We're going to talk about that later. I have a question that just came in. And I don't know if you can see this. A former student, 20-something, now understands they are bi, but they don't understand what intimacy and sexuality means or how it works within that reality. This is a great one.
So someone identifies as being bi,
yes,
but they don't understand what intimacy and sexuality have to do with that.
They don't understand how it works within that reality now that they have come to terms with being bi.
Sure. Well, again, intimacy, you can be intimate with anyone in your life. So I want to back up and just say intimacy is about the emotional part. Yes. So it's how we connect with people and show our true selves, our most vulnerable selves. And when we're talking about being, discovering who we are, that's part of it. Finding those people who you can be safe with and sharing those parts of yourselves, that is intimacy right there. Yes. We're talking about how it is as it pertains to sex and intercourse. I think that what comes up for me is maybe there's some education that could be had around that, but always the approach I take with clients is what feels right for you in this moment. And so when we're talking about that, you can, again, be intimate. You can have sexual experiences with also out having intercourse. So I don't know if that answered well enough. If it didn't, throw it at me again.
I'm going to have you type that answer in the chat so everyone can see it, because I don't want to leave out anything that you just said. But we've got about 2 more minutes, and this has been great. I know you were nervous.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, I knew the minute I gave you the opportunity to shine and talk about your jam that you would do perfect. I'm so excited about this because I've got some ideas. I need to write them down because I feel some tribe things coming.
Yes.
So yes. So I haven't shared an idea that I talked to someone about yesterday. I may go type that in the group right now just so everybody can understand where I'm at and what I'm trying to plan. She's got it. Okay. Got it. Great. Got it. Thanks. Okay. So they got it. They got it. So you're good to go. You don't have to type it. But I am so excited. Congratulations on your business. And I will be sending people your way regularly. So do you have a limit to your caseload for Rise? That's what I was going to ask. Oh, you got to unmute yourself. She's like, oh, I muted myself.
I had no idea. Okay, cool. Thanks. So a limit of clients that I will take. Again, when you go to my website, you'll see that if we're talking about psychotherapy, I'm directing people to my private practice because that's where that is. However, what I'm picking up from our conversation today, which pretty much never occurred to me, so thank you for that, Tara, is why not have small group workshops or conversations outside of my private practice? Haha, hey. And so absolutely a limit? No. What it means is I will see groups of people or people as my time allows, that allows me self-care for myself.
Perfect. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, guys. So that was Vibe with the Tribe featuring Miss Alisha Saucedo, the owner and operator of Real Intimacy and Sexual Empowerment Rise. That is so deep. Love that.
So, thank you,
So
Tara.
thank you, ma'am. I'm
Thank
so
you.
excited. On Wednesday, I got to pull this up real quick. On Wednesday, I will be talking with someone that I know a lot of people are going to want to talk to. Miss Ann Hawkins is a teacher. She's an educator and she is another part of the tribe, and she's simply amazing. And I'm looking forward to hearing how she is helping her kiddos, her students. I used to read to her class every Tuesday. So this whole school's out for the remainder of the year crushed me because I miss those babies. But I'm seeing them through her page as the parents share information. So Ann's going to be here on Wednesday at 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock in the morning. So if you have questions, send the questions to me. Feel free to join us. But we will see you all on Wednesday. Alisha, thank you so much. You were amazing.
Thank you for the invite, Tara.
You're a pro. Thank you.
Have a good
Bye, everybody.
Bye.